I about a year ago, and now I am working on basically making them work. So just taking down the edges here where it's rough. And then basically I'll put the text in here. You see, when I'm not designing the game, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to come up with ways of like making things for the game that are interesting. So eventually this will be a page of a book. This kind of illuminated manuscript that I want to use. Now, I can't just go and grab fonts though, because I've got to pay for fonts. So I've got to be really careful when I'm choosing fonts that I'm going to use it. Okay, so make sure I'm getting the textures right on this. Really oversaturated the way I want it. Yeah, that's fine. Multiply will work on that. Okay, now the next thing I need to do. Facebook. Facebook happened to 3D Palace. Basically, 3D Palace worked by having all the video tutorials were stored on the website. Fire, I'll show you. So let me see. Way back. Let's go back to early 3D Palace. So 2004, you're probably seeing like literally its peaks. Although it was before HTTPS, you had to pay a lot for that back then. See what we find, eh? Here we are, 3D Palace, which is 89,000 captures from 2002. Fucking hell. But we'll go to Christmas 2004, okay? Because that's where it's going to be interesting. Not this. This is just my placeholder. So what we want to do is go to... Oh, God, what's that? Here, this web's pretty jamming. See if we can find it. There we go. 2005, so this would have been just after the Christmas message. So we had the new shop in there. We had like tutorials that were downloadable because YouTube didn't exist at this point. Over here we had like the training sets that I'd built that were for sale. There were 4 training DVDs at the time. And of course 30 hours long. No one had seen shit that huge in ages. And we had tutorials for XSI, and if you look, Autodesk had just acquired Alias at this point. Because it used to be Alias Autodesk. Sorry, Alias 3ds Max. And then before that was Discrete. ZBrush 2's demo was just coming out there. And then the Sci-Fi Docs, which was one of the very early tutorials. And then on the left here, if you look, we had 10,000 people lurking and 409 members actually online at the time. That's how busy the website was. And these are just like all the different ones. So there's me at the bottom, Squid, who was one of the admins. Knight was an admin. I knew loads of these. I remember Deathman and Helix. Faisal Seed, Bertie, of course. Cyrus 2003, he got banned in the end. Deviant, Island Dreamer, I remember. Good 3D artist, rock guy. There were flipping loads of them. And it just went on and on and on. But when Facebook started, people started leaving forum-based communities in their droves. And also with YouTube, people wanted streaming. They weren't really that into the idea of just going and downloading an AVI file anymore because it was more work. And so they kind of stopped. And that's what happened. So eventually it died off. I went through a period of being depressed because obviously, you know, we all get depressed when the thing we've worked on for years and years and years basically goes to shit. And, yeah, that was it. That was it. I still miss the place, and obviously there's loads of like old fans of the thing, but you can't rebuild the community because people just don't, they're not into the idea. You know, you'd think they would be, but they're not. They say they are, but they're not. because no one likes going back again. Weird thing, but they don't. Okay then, so next I need some Latin to go in here. I do have a Latin poem that I was working on. So, I mean, I'd love to come back to having that kind of community again, you know. I mean, we did events in Amsterdam we did Maxterdam, which is where I went over to Amsterdam and taught 3D Studio Max 3 years in a row. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, obviously there was a wave of people interested at the time because it was considered so new and exciting. Of course, now it's like no one sees 3D because 3D is so good that people don't get a chance to see it properly. It's a shame because, like I say, I'd like to have the community back, but it just never gets there. Oh, yeah, it's impossible because people don't really want to do it. People want the entertainment, they want, you know, things, but they don't want to make the things, which is fair enough. I can't fault them for that. To be honest, I feel the same way. I don't particularly want to do things if there's a chance of not having to do it, but I mean, I remember like when it was in its heyday, you know, I could go to some sort of an event and they'd be like, oh, it's 3D Palace, you know, and it used to be great fun because we'd all just get horribly, 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 horribly. Hmm, always the fucking same with that. No, no. I'm starting to get pissed off with that. You're going away. You're not going away. You're going away. No. They have, but they've also created an abundant lack of what would you call it, community, which is a big problem, obviously, because you know we need community, especially for people who are working on their own from home or people who you know are working really long hours. A community would be ideal, but it's just not one of those things, sadly, that it's particularly easy for us to get. Yeah, yeah, that's the whole point. That's one of the reasons why I started doing this in the first place. It's like manuals worth like 60, 70 pounds, and I could do shit so much cheaper. So it just made sense to me. I mean, the first year, maybe year and a half of 3D Palace, everything was free. And then after that, I was just covering my own costs with membership, optional membership. And then after that, I started making the DVDs. I think the thing with the DVDs is that because they were so much better than the free stuff, It was hard to go back and do the free stuff because it would have meant doing stuff that was 30 hours long, and people didn't want to watch that if it was free. So it was a bit of a quandary. Okay, so file exports PNG. Pardon me. Gnomon. I got on well with Gnomon. You have heard me obviously give a shout out to Alex and there. He was the 78th member of 3D Palace because he came by to see what it was. Pretty early on. I think is this something that's going to be a rival to what I'm doing, basically? Of course, the answer was no, not especially. But he didn't participate on 3D Palace itself, but obviously I did kind of hear from him a few times. They used to send me some of their stuff to review because I used to review stuff on 3D Palace as well. 3D Palace was like independent, which meant we could interview and we could interview or we could review anyone. Change this. Sorry, I'm just not talking very much. Can you hear? If you ask something, I'll talk. I'm just working on a translation of Ingeni mea aristierum portalum ad mundos atriplios, which is one of the books inside of the game. It's one of the important books inside the game, really. And it's backstory. It's like meat and drink. It makes things interesting. Giving heavy concern to the works of Arius, Presbyter Arius. Oh, look at that. Hello, Rob. Thank you for sharing it. There we go. So that's the translation. Export. Quick export as PNG. Goes in as book page 2. Yeah, this is the thing that kind of people forget when you're doing like these big games that have a lot of stuff going on. You have to also build the story, and it helps if what you're building is anchored in the real world as well. So let's see. This is a translation of the previous page. Yep, 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 yep. Okay. So the title itself translates as right. Obvious errors. So what you've been up to today, Bert? You went to a party the other day, didn't you? Put this on page 2, page 3. I could find a way of getting a community going for this actual game. I could get people, I could make cut down versions of the game and like people in the community could play it and I could tweak it around them and stuff. But getting people interested is so hard. Oh, nice. Did you win anything? If you didn't, you should have gone up and just claimed a prize anyway. They wouldn't know what was going on. Tiling textures. Well, it's not too hard. It just takes practice. I don't know. You can do it automatically, inside of Photoshop. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hang on. Uh, there you go. Sorry about that. I'm cooking a fresh chicken pie, and I'm also making fresh bread. That's it. Oh yes, hot photos. Heavens, they. I don't even know which site the hot photos are coming from. They're hot, and that's what matters. There. To the. I realise it's not really interesting. It's not a big picture, is it? Thank you. Welcome back. Oh, aye. Aye, it's all historical. It's real places, man. Real places. I'll show you the island. Hang on, in case you're wondering. It's the furthest point west of England. It's our most westerly point. Right. There we go. So 10 pages to a book's considered about the right length for what I need. Stops people getting bored, keeps enough interest to it. Right, so I was going to show you where the wiki is based. So if you look at the shape of the island, 1 minute, not Bore, that is that. So this is St Kilda, which is England's most western point. If I turn this to terrain, there you go. You can get an idea of the topology there. I should be able to see satellite. There we go. Right, much better. Close the map details. St Kilda is quite a big island. Now, if you look at the way this is actually laid out, okay, up here is where the lighthouse is. Down here, this is the quay. Over here, this is the village. Over here, this is the engine room. Okay, so this is basically how it exists. The village itself in the real one is actually down here on the front, but the design that I took was actually from the original village here. Yeah, Skyrim nailed it pretty well, actually. I use 10 basically because I want people to get bored before the end and stop reading the book, which is why I put the important stuff at the very end. If I show you the actual book itself. Oh, wiki. Well, I was kind of fishing around trying to decide where to build it. And Herta, which is part of St Kilda. I mean, I wanted to go there this year but couldn't. It's really hard to get there. You have to chart a 4-hour journey. No one lives there. It's They stopped living there in 1910, or roundabout. The last residents of the island, 'cause it was so fucking hard living there. Like they kept running out of food and stuff, even though people have been living there since the Vikings and before. It's a really, really old island. Originally, it was owned actually by Norway. The king of the Vikings owned it until about 1600, I think. Ancient term in Latin. Let's have a look. So this is what I've just done. So it's quite clean, but that's okay. It's seen from a distance. Perfect. Now I just need a cover. But if you actually look at the game itself, like all the flora and fauna is completely accurate to the island. So it's like the right flowers, the right plants, the right herbs, the right animals. There's no trees grow there, which is why there's no trees on the island, because the island's salty, cold. Trees don't make it very well. It was theorized that they actually cut all the trees down in about 900 AD to stop the Vikings making ships, but that's not true. It just Trees stopped growing there ages ago. Right then, let me have a look. So, if you want, actually, in about a week and a half, I should have um, main candidate beta for days 1 and 2 ready, so you can have a play on it if you want, as long as your computer doesn't catch fire and explode. Okay, recent cover. Well, it's like COVID, man. We all got obsessed. And everything in this, except for the characters that I've created on the island, like Malin and the rest, everyone really exists or existed at the time. Like M. Theon from this document here was actually a real occultist who did research on mathematics for gates and stuff. Edinburgh Castle was said to have a mysterious gate in it. Borray, the Outer Hebridean Isle, Borray is one of the islands on what do you call it? Kilda. So this links to the fact that Kilda's going to have one of these gates. Obviously, John Deeve is real. Krishnanda Aga, whatever, was a real person who was very interested in gates and travel. Around about 1700. Blavatsky, Waite Goyes, they were real. Sierpinetsky was the inventor of the Menga sponge and the mathematics for the Menga sponge, which is used nowadays in what's it called again? Oh god, fractals, fractals. That's it. So all these people generally are real, and I'm not kind of making shit up about them because I think that's wrong, even if they're dead. So I'm not like taking their names out of context. So now I can put the title of this book on. Assemble my book shortly. I'll put that on the spine. Then I think is I'm going to get some stuff by that guy that I quite liked, not Max Theon. Not Christian Mando either. Let's have a look. What have a look at? Not for that. Horses, Rudolph, John D. Here we are. It's a Pinsky triangle. Which is here. Image. Paste it over here. That's good news. To be honest, 5.1, now that I've managed to wedge it into working with 5.1, is working fantastically. So I can't complain. I was having so many problems at first, and now I'm not. So I'm very, very glad. Okay. Yeah, just a bit of light visibility on that. Love it. Okay, now I can save this. So export. Do you want me to show you what the book looks like when it's being used? I can. That's not a problem. Let me just get the cover. I just want to make sure the names are the same because I find it really hard keeping the names all the same. Okay, save this off now. Nope, nope. I don't like damaging my original files, so I always save them with a new name. There we go. This is the covers and the pages for book 6. That's 5. That's a Latin book on Gates and Shovels by Simon Magus. Then over here we've got Troy's Journal on the Asylum Sluice, Evidences of the Fourth Dimension, a book called The Light Ship, etc., etc., etc. You get the point. Yeah, well, I'll go into more detail on it tomorrow when I've got slightly more time. So if you're around in the afternoon, I'll show you. But I should be able to use it. So let's just go on. I mean, you've got to be careful because I want to make it good, but I'm not letting people collect the books. There's some things that I'm doing here that aren't really done in video games, which I like. So, for example, in video games, it'll always record your conversations you've had with people. Okay, so it's like I've chatted to someone and I'll be able to recall a perfect dialogue that I've had this person. Now, me, because of an illness I've had since childhood, my memory is very, very bad. And so I don't remember things. Do you remember a conversation you had with someone 3 days ago to the letter? No. So I don't record conversations. In the same way, if you read a book, unless you're carrying it with you, you're not going to fucking remember it, are you? So you don't remember books either, or anything like that. It just seems so unnatural. I mean, I understand it makes the job easier for some people, but to be quite honest, if you want to remember something, do what I do: grab a piece of paper and jot down some goddamn notes. That's what it's about. Right, let's get this loaded just so I can. Takes ages to put books into this. I've got 3 ready. I've got a third one to make ready, which I might just leave. I don't know. It's not essential. Hello, PH King. How are you? 6.7 is the answer, which is a good pH balance. Yeah, exactly. Well, my view is, I mean, I could very easily have made, well, not very easily, you know what I mean? I could have made a system inside of the game, which stores every single page that you've read and every conversation you've had and shit. But I don't want to be honest. Hang on. There you go. Check that. I also made a loaf of bread while I was doing it. What I was doing. So that's the chicken pie done, the fresh bread done. Back to this. So this should load. The initial load takes a while. Yeah, well, that's what I want people to do. I want people to go into it and find things and write things down and take notes. I think that's way, way more fun. Death Stranding's awesome, by the way. And it means that I can put clues in things. I don't have to handhold people. So people who want to play the game as it is, just do what the fuck they want can. People who want to dig in deeper and find like the backstory and the hidden clues in the books can do that, because that's what I like about this. I realized eventually that I'm world building. I know that's obvious, but I'm kind of world building a world that I want to build. And this is the kind of shit I love and have loved ever since I can remember. So for me, I'm determined to make it as fun as it can be because I want to enjoy it. Right. So books. Give it a second to compile shaders. It's so long to get one book done, you know, but it's not like something you can rush. I mean, I can use AI for a certain amount of stuff, but not much of it. Because I actually have to do research and then check the research and check the notes match up and then write things that are in the right kind of hand and easy to read and then spell check it. Come on, finish loading. You can do this. Turn the lighting on. If you want an idea of performance improvements on the wiki, the showroom, which is what I'm using here, showcase, just to make sure everything's working. This used to work at about 15 frames per second, and now I think it's 90. Well, occasionally 90, at the minute it's 45. Now, if I go over here, this is the old book system, which is why it looks weird as shit. Get rid of that. And that. Now I need to find my book. Interactive books. Yeah, well, you should, for the actual open world stuff that I'm doing now that nanites have been improved, I was getting 3 frames per second and I was getting terrified that I was going to have to scrap the project and restart again. But now, even in develop mode, for me, it's 20 frames per second. And that's like full detail while I've got 4 windows open and I'm streaming. So I know full well that's going to be at least 40, 50 frames for the average person. Plus, they can adjust the settings to make it even faster. Okay, so let's see what I've got. Books, books, books. Where's my goddamn book? My book. And we'll use book 1. There it is. There's book 1 there. And I'll use book 2. There's book 2 there. And I'll get book 3. There's book 3 there. Okay, so just a few copies of these. I should also have a book stacker. Let's see if that works. Book stack. Nice. Okay, let's try that. And my books. No, that's not going to work. One is it? That one. That one. I've never actually used the book stacker. So quite curious to see how well it works or doesn't work. Okay, loop. Loop length. 50. 500. 100. Nice. Randomize the books. Size 1.2. Book random size. So the books are all different sizes now. Okay, so now right click, play from here. The books are physics objects, by the way, so we're going to do that. Right then, so if I come down here, I can now look at any one of these books. The interactive book, it says here. I need to change the cover on this one, but as you can see, I can look at these now, or I can put the book on the floor, pick it up if I want, put it away, bring it back. Let's have a look at this one. So we can read this one. And the idea is that you have to stop and read the book. So if you're in danger, you're going to die. Yeah, put that away. Let's have a look. What's this one? Got that one already. Got that one. Got that one. Got that one. This one. Nice, isn't it? I mean, it's a pain in the arse building each individual page, but I thought that's what made kind of, what do you call it, Skyrim nice, you know? Being able to do this. And so I thought, well, if I do it myself, that'd be great fun. There we go. Books, books, books. And of course, I've abandoned third person mode, so you will never see this. It'll always be this, which is cool. Also, I've abandoned some of the creatures that I was using before that are full 3D, and they're being swapped out for 2D as well. So good news galore, I think you'll agree. Right, I am going to shut this down for the minute because I really need to. And I will see you soon tomorrow afternoon when I'll be assembling the books to show you how you assemble them into those kind of books. In the meantime, have a great evening, and tomorrow is New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, so